Open, clear with flashbangs.
Flash out.
Come out, or I'll shoot you in the
Keep your hands up!
Ready or Not is a game that I've been hooked on ever since I laid my eyes on it. Even before the full release, I was already of the belief that this game would be big. And that's coming from quite a skeptical guy when it comes to upcoming games. Having a game like Ready or Not show us how a well-crafted and genuinely fun game can coexist among absolute titans in this niche, but still provide deep narratives and storytelling elements within the game, was what made it feel so unique to me. And even though this game is an incredibly well-made shooter with so many technical aspects to it, I'm not really here to talk about the CQB tactics of this game or the FPS mechanics that make it so engaging. No, Ready or Not holds something deeper, more grounded. A very sinister story, not necessarily of the LSPD department or the SWAT team that you lead. It instead gives you glimpses into the worlds or situations of the people who you are going against, whether you like it or not. In games like Ready or Not, there's a lot to focus on. It's easy to tune out whatever noises you hear in the background when you are busting down doors and clearing rooms, like the horrific screaming of the person you just shot, the mumblings of civilians. And you have to do this. You have to narrow down your focus and ignore anything in the background to stay cool under pressure when you're going through these tense missions, but it's tough to understand what I'm getting at here, unless you've played Ready or Not after the 1.0 version that came out at the end of 2023. But let me give you a little glimpse into what this game actually is. Ready or Not is a tactical shooter that puts you into the shoes of a team leader within the Los Sueños Police Department's SWAT team, taking heavy inspiration from game series like the infamous SWAT games that came out in the early 2000s. Ready or Not takes those similar components and twists them into a completely new yet familiar experience. The gunplay feels incredibly smooth yet technical. The mechanic of being able to command your team with just a few clicks is incredibly intuitive. The AI team that you lead is more realistic than they have ever been, most of the time at least. And the levels provide you with realistic environments like our real world. Ready or Not really stands out in the tactical shooter space. And the thing that makes this game stand out isn't necessarily a specific feature, mechanic, or the sheer scale of the community behind it, although all of those things contribute to it. No, Ready or Not makes it feel all so real. All of the mission areas pull you in and immerse you. You see the suspects for what they are, sometimes intimidating and dangerous, or desperate and weak. The cries of the civilians from across the mission area start to weigh in on you as you bring order to chaos. The sad afterthought of what actually happened before you arrived on scene begins to show itself. Ready or Not pushes the boundaries of what is considered acceptable. It pushes the definition of what a game can make you feel. It keeps you in the moment and makes you anxious and cautious at every moment it can. This game's missions are tragic to say the least. When I say that you should play this game to fully experience it for yourself, I mean it. And when you do first experience a full playthrough, listen in on every aspect, investigate the areas, listen to the briefings like you were actually in the shoes of a team leader. Because if you come into this game purely to breach doors, shoot bad guys, and flip down those ridiculously expensive night vision goggles as funk music plays in the background, you're robbing yourself of an experience unlike any other. An experience that focuses on the desperation of some individuals in the criminal world. the disturbing actions that some of them take, and the sad mirror image of our own world. And while it might not have a storyline that plays out in a traditional way, it does still shed light into some serious problems within our world that makes us confront them through the missions and bits of lore we can pick up. In this video, I'll be going over 2 of my favorite missions within this game, and show you what makes it so special yet tragic. And once again, this video contains heavy topics that are very much real, so do with that what you will. And also, thank you for watching. A moderate house overlooking the side of Kauai Beach. As the waves pass by, life seems normal. But what you don't see from the outside is the situation on the inside. This is Ends of the Earth. A mission regarding an illegal weapons modification ring. The 3 sons of the Tran family, Anne, Tao, and Vin, have all been distributing and modifying weapons through various methods. The oldest of the 3, Anne, is a mechanical engineer and is primarily the one modifying the weapons. The 2 others seem to be the ones selling and distributing these modified weapons. Their parents, Peter and Hugh, are both old and retired. But what's really tragic about this mission is the motives behind this criminal activity. Primarily being their mother's stage 4 lung cancer. She is dying. The medical bills are simply too much for them to bear, reaching all the way up to $200,000. But that could only be a chunk of the total across years of treatment. Yeah, that's American healthcare at its finest. As well as this, the father, Peter, is in debt. This has all led to the sons turning their hand to crime. And as the team lead says in the briefing for Ends of the Earth, the sons of this family are terribly in over their head. They are clinging to whatever they have to survive in their lives, with medical bills reaching absolutely insane heights. And they are desperately struggling against it. This is a mission where a majority of players in this community all agree on one thing. Going guns blazing is the worst possible way to deal with this. Because what moron is just gonna go clip a poor old woman with a shotgun? All jokes aside, Ready or Not is exceptional at environmental storytelling. And this mission is a strong point to that, as it shows you a desperate and tragic situation through the mission's areas. In one of the rooms, possibly belonging to either Vin or Tao, you can find a recording where one of them is talking about Anne, and the situation they are under.
It took so damn long to convince him of my idea, that it was the right thing to do, to use that drive of his for a greater purpose, to save our family.
There's a lot of details that you might miss in this mission. For example, next to the desk you can find casino chips and cards. And the reason is not specified, but on one of the computer monitors you can also find the website for the Los Sueños casino, as well as a large bag of cash on the couch. Small details like this help to provide a more deep narrative to this mission. But it seems that no matter how much cash they might have, they're not stopping for the sake of their mother's illness, which seems critical, and their father's sake, who knows about his son's operations, but is obviously ashamed and embarrassed to even accept it. This is not a family of criminals. There's no real evil to be found here at all. Instead, it showcases a struggle that some face. And sadly, it represents how some criminals feel that they have to turn to crime to be able to make ends meet. Reaching the last staircase in the house that leads to the attic, you clear the first room, and that's when it hits you. If it didn't already, the desperation of the family, the sons, the father, their pain and struggle to cope displayed beautifully as a slow, melancholy piano track starts playing. And it continues playing regardless of where you are after this moment. The game seems to trigger this track when we finally reach the attic, which makes those steps down an awfully clear moment. And the final punch to the gut, the father of the family stands outside, watching the waves go by, as his sons are either arrested or incapacitated after not giving up without a fight. And his wife is placed in zip ties because of protocol, whether it's in the beginning or the end of the mission. The father will plead with you to not hurt his family.
My wife, please, make
Leave
sure
the talk.
she's okay.
This mission is absolutely incredible at showcasing the desperation behind the individuals of this fictional world. And it's not the only one. But it certainly is, in my opinion, the best one. Yet some dude just speedruns it like the Call of Duty mission. Now, while this video might focus on these missions' storylines rather than the actual gameplay, I do actually want to cover that too, because this game is scarier and more intense than like 90% of survival horror games these days. Fighting in tight alleyways and close quarters battle is not fun, no matter how cool Call of Duty makes it out to be.
Bravo 6, moving to the second floor.
Because regardless of your situation, open the wrong door, make too much noise, stick your head out a little too much, or forget to check a corner.
Fuck.
And it could lead to your life, or your team's lives, being lost. This is made even worse and more terrifying in the larger, more complex maps, including the hotels and hospitals, as well as some underground tunnels. You never know who's behind what door and what their intentions are. This is why this game requires you to pay attention. That one footstep you heard before entering a room counts. The direction of a bullet you see flying matters. There is so much you need to pay attention to in this game, and it forces you to learn all of it. Suspects might be terrified of you or want to make you terrified of them. But none of that matters because both will get spooked and spray bullets your way when they see you. And your job is to prevent that from happening in the first place. Which is why this game's customization is very important. Taking down a target doesn't necessarily mean that you just clip him to the face with a shotgun. This isn't a game about that. If you want that, you have other games out there. Your creativity matters, and Ready or Not rewards you for being innovative in your approaches. And this is just another way that this game immerses you in the moment, and you better not take it for granted. Because when you enter those hotels or large facilities with hallways branching across, doorways scattered around at different angles, windows that expose your position, and also the very minor issue of, the suspects themselves, you'll start to feel on edge pretty soon. And even if you use that mirror gun and see those 3 armed suspects standing side by side, holding different angles, this game will make you feel just that much more cautious. Because if you aren't...
Fuck.
The next mission I'm about to cover is one that I've been basically disturbed by for close to 2 years now. This mission was originally what grabbed my attention when I first played this game, roughly 2 years ago. And I absolutely love and hate it at the same time. And what's really surprising is that it's not necessarily even the most disturbing out of the entire game. But it does not care about your feelings. Valley of Dolls takes place in a house within Los Clemente. The house features many floors and a luxurious presentation. It belongs to an adult entertainment star named Amos Wall. The mission takes place at 7:35 p.m. during Amos's daughter's birthday party. Before the mission was set to commence, the Los Sueños police cybercrime team found a lead to an illegal CP ring within the city. This lead turned out to be Amos Wall, who is a major figure in illegal CP and human trafficking. This mission is also connected to two others. The Spider, which is about Brixley's talent time, who were providing Vol with children. And Hide and Seek, which is about the illegal human trafficking ring, taking place in Port Hogan. Vol produces this illegal CP and sells it through the dark web, with the help of MindJot, yet another culprit and location in this game's collection of missions. This is what ultimately leads to this operation. This mission is a rough one to say the least. It's connected to, again, multiple other ones in terms of lore, as I just pointed out, and is one of the missions that you don't want to hold back on, but sometimes are forced to. Because when you do a full run of this mission for the first time and pay attention to what's going on, it will throw you off. In the beginning of the video, when I said that this game pushes the boundaries of what is considered okay to showcase in a video game, this is what I mean. And it's safe to say that most of the stuff here is not allowed on this platform, so I've blurred basically all of the NSFW imagery, and I'm quite sure you don't want to see that. The second you enter this luxurious mansion, you are immediately thrown off by the setting. The house is clean and rich in taste, completely opposite to what you were briefed on. There are some very explicit paintings on the walls that show the interests of Amos, the owner, but it seems like a regular house, with the exception of the armed guards. But once you've cleared the lobby and hallway of the top floor, you have two more rooms to clear. One is a washroom, and usually contains the suspect's relative. The other is a large bedroom. Neither room really indicates anything, but the first sign that indicates how truly disturbing this property is can be found on the floor next to the bed. DVD cases scattered around, containing CP. This is the moment that I started to realize what was actually happening here when I first played this game. The lower floors are quite normal. Nothing interesting to know other than a laptop with an external drive that you have to find. Clearing the house all the way to the last floor, you finally progress to the outside areas, which have been decorated for the party. You really can't find anything interesting here, other than the armed guards and civilians who are all spouting their own things. But two unsuspecting gates can be found outside. Stacking up and clearing the first room, you are in the property's basement complex. And let me say, if you've played this mission, I can guarantee you that you can relate to this. I was not prepared whatsoever for what was down there. Clearing the first corridor, you are presented with 3 doors. In this case, I decided to go left for simplicity's sake. But once you enter this room, your views of this mission change within an instant. Whatever bad feelings that you held towards this Amos Vol will increase tenfold. Because if you don't want to throw him off a cliff by the end of this mission, I'm not sure what you were really playing.
2, 3.
A room fully lit by red lights, covered in pictures of children. This sight is what sticks with you. It was the first wake-up call of this game's incredible storytelling that I experienced, and it's unsettling at least, if not full-blown disturbing. I can't show this, and while the game's imagery is purely 3D rendered, and not nearly as bad as some, I don't know, fucking Pokemon R34, it's still bad enough for me to not show it. Progressing to the next room, you can see the walls scattered with images to form a large photograph, with absolutely deranged text scrabbled onto them with white paint. Continuing, we clear the room on the right, and we can find a dugout pit, and just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it does. You can see children's shoes sticking out among other items. And the most disturbing of them all, the barrels that are deep in the rubble, most likely containing the bodies of the children dissolved in I can't stop thinking about this mission. It is pure horror. If you knew nothing about this mission's lore, you'd probably feel okay playing it for the first time, albeit a little disturbed when entering the basement. But with the context involved, it turns into something that I've never experienced in any game. In the last room of the basement, you can find a children's bed, a light used for filming, and kids' toys, and judging by the positioning of the light, you can probably make out what this room was used for. It's quite degrading thinking about this mission's lore itself, but putting it into perspective is hard to say the least. This mission's disturbing nature is unlike any other, and especially the last few rooms of this mission are a slap of cold reality to the face. This was the mission that solidified Ready or Not as a work of art for me. This isn't just a game. Ready or Not single-handedly takes on some of the darkest subject matters that are sadly prevalent within our world and shines them in your face, and it needs to do that to accomplish its purpose. We need more games that actually reflect the circumstances people are under. The disgusting nature of some, what drove them to become that person. To put into context what is happening in some parts of the world is an honorable objective, no matter the form, whether it's a movie, a book, or practically any other form of entertainment. Which is why Ready or Not stands out so much alongside other tactical shooters, or the entire FPS genre in general. It's not as it seems, the surface is merely a thin layer, on top of a deep rabbit hole, like the tip of an iceberg. And I will always love it, even if some people don't. And I really hope that if you haven't played the game, you'll at least check it out, because the 2 missions I covered in this video are barely scratching that surface. There are 18 missions in this game that will all immerse you, and sometimes disturb you, just like the missions I covered today. With all this said, I want to thank you for making it this far into the video. If you want to support me, you can like, comment, share these videos, or even subscribe. It's entirely free, you'll be among the first to see my upcoming content, and you can unsubscribe at any time. And as always, thank you for watching.